My name is Aparna. We are co-founders of Shobitam. And Shobitam is basically a tech-first global ethnic fashion brand. Started out in 2019, where we sell ethnic fashion to our tens of thousands of customers across the world. And we are collaborating with Startup Pedia, and we are here. We have our upcoming workshop where we are going to show you how to build a clothing brand from scratch. So we really look forward to having you all there.
So, hi Aparna, you started your career with Microsoft and worked there for more than 7 years. And 3 years back, you started Shobitam. So, as of now, what has been your experience? What did you learn?
Hi, Jamil. First off, very nice to be here. Good question. So I worked 7 years at Microsoft, and now it's Shobitam. I think there are three learnings or three aspects of Microsoft that we've been inspired by, and we've leveraged them at Shobitam. The first thing is Microsoft is a very people driven and culture driven company, right? So bringing that, leveraging that at Shobitam. So the processes that we implement, we have very formal processes, right? It's not like, hey, somebody's writing by pen and paper, not that. We have very strong, very formal processes, and our people, we from the beginning, we've made sure that we hire the best talent because Microsoft had a very high bar. So that was our key learning, and that has actually paid off quite well. Okay. The second thing, Microsoft, everyone knows that Microsoft is a technology company, it's a software company, right? So the next big thing was, how do we leverage technology in the handloom arts and crafts space? And that was very important because this is a space where there is hardly any technology used, right? It's an age old system that's been running for centuries, right? So, what we did was actually disrupt the space with technology. So, technology is at the core of everything that we do. We have a website at the front end, and we have a whole bunch of solutions, tech driven solutions, which enable our processes to run very efficiently. Okay, so technology is the second thing. The third, probably a less known fact about Microsoft is its corporate giving program. Okay, in fact, it is the largest corporate giving program in the world. Okay, so Microsoft gives back $200 million to the community. So there's a huge social impact that Microsoft makes, to the community. And that really inspired us, and from the beginning, also being women led, we really wanted to give back to women, we wanted to give back to children, and we wanted to give back to our community of weavers. Okay, so we started two programs called Shobitam Care and Shobitam Give, which caters to women, it caters to children by partnering with other social organizations, and also giving back to our community of weavers because weavers, they are very much like agriculture. So agriculture is the number one industry in India. After that is the handlooms, arts and crafts space. And again, people in this sector are straddling along the poverty line, so it's making a difference in the lives of these people. So those are the three main things, three main learnings from Microsoft that we've incorporated in Shobitam and seen a huge difference.
Amazing. It's great to know that you learned those stuff from Microsoft and implementing the same in your venture. How did you both come up with this idea of Shobitum, and what were the initial challenges? Like initial challenges means from ideating each and every product to finding first few customers and then catering those customers.
Again, very interesting question. See, both of us came with a technology background. But what really led to an idea that was very different from what we were doing is passion. Right? From a very young age, we would make clothes, we would do a lot of arts and crafts projects. We were basically DIY people. जैसे आज कहते हैं ना DIY, it's all about DIY, do it yourself. So it started off when I was around 12 years old. Ambika was barely 2. Her birthday was coming up, and I had to make something special for her. And I don't know why, I decided to make a dress out of her leftover sari fabric. And I think that probably is the foundation of Shobitam. So I locked myself in the kitchen room for an entire night, made something for her by hand, and she looked so pretty the next day in that. And that feeling was very empowering because, like Ambika said before, you can conceptualize something in your mind and make it by your hand, right? So you create something on your own. So I think that was the building block of Shobitam. We got married. We were trained in computer science. We got married. We were working here, but our passion followed us, right? We continuously wanted to, keep making clothes, work with artisans. And, we would joke, कि हम अपने लिए कितना खरीदेंगे? How much are we going to hoard for ourselves? So that's when the idea actually came up. And we said, if we start a business, we can continue to, build new things, create new products, but at the same time, we don't have to keep them for ourselves. So why not we start a business? So that's how the idea started. And the challenge was, idea to mil gaya, lekin how do we know that this idea is going to work, right? It's very easy to have ideas, but execution, and the industry term for this is the product market fit, right? How do we know that the product that you've conceptualized is actually going to be a good business idea? And how we overcame that, we wanted a very simple, effective solution. And we started off on this marketplace platform rather than building our own website, all that. We started off on a marketplace because we could leverage their technology, their tools, all of that. And they have a customer base also, right? So we started off on a marketplace, which enabled us to leverage their tools, their platform, all that. So that's how we overcame our first challenge. And we had to validate our concept. And within the first year, we made 1 crore. Okay. And that was very strong validation that our proof of concept actually works. Okay. The second challenge was 1 crore ban gaya. How do we take it forward? Right? How do we make 1 crore 10 crores? Right? You have to have small goals. So, and the way to go about that was actually hiring, right? The problem is, how do we scale? And the solution to that is hiring the right set of people, right? Because it is the people who are going to make the difference for you. And hiring is a challenge because we were still not established. People have not really heard of Shobitam, right? So why would people actually join us, right? That was the big challenging part. And I know Ambika and I, we've spent countless hours. We've interviewed hundreds of people. But to be very honest, the first 4 or 5 people that you bring to your organization are the most important because they are the one who set the culture for you. Because people who come later, they basically absorb the culture that is already there, right? So we were very, very, very picky, very deliberate about who we were bringing. So that's the second challenge. And, we've reached this milestone where we hit 10 crores also. Okay. Yeah. And global brand, right? We are a global brand. So how do you actually find global customers, right? We have our products, but how do people know that we have these products? How do our products differentiate, right? So how did we solve that? By actually doing something very different. We were not buying and selling. We had ideas to make our products really stand out. And we sold, like I said before, we were on Etsy, a marketplace platform which already had a very global customer base. So it was easy for people to actually find us. Right? So I think those were the 3 initial challenges. And that's how we actually overcame them.
That's really great, and that's a nice way to tackle all those problems. Also, so you both are sisters, right? And you both are the co-founders of the company.
Yes.
How you both divide work? Like कौन क्या कर रहा होता है कि कैसे responsibilities divide करते हो आप लोग? अंबिका?
Yes, that's an interesting question. It brings in a lot of communication and synergies between the two of us. So, if I had to say, we kind of complement each other in a lot of ways. And what is important is there's a foundational aspect which is common between us. We are the same, like in terms of thinking, we're pretty much the same. So, what she likes, I like, kind of a thing. But we also complement in a lot of ways. So what she does is she takes care of, say, product sourcing. So she works with weavers in and out of different parts of India, and she talks to them. In the same sourcing, now where she pulls me in is, she'll say, Ambika, you can speak multiple languages. right? I speak Kannada, I speak Bengali, I speak Hindi, Tamil. So she's like, why don't you talk to the weavers and then get a good rate? So I'll be good at bargaining. I'll be good at, so I'll have this communication and I'll make sure that we get things done and get it at a good price. So we always work together when it comes to, working at Shobitam. So even if it's about, say, simple things like hiring someone, she'll ask the tough questions. She'll make sure she gauges, and I'll make sure I talk about the culture and things like that, and gauge how the person is on a lighter side and all. So there are, when we come together, it's a very interesting combination. So we kind of do things in a way where what she does and what I do, we they're different, but we are as one team. So even in the office, when Aparna and me go, we both are extremely hands-on, right? We are not these kind of people who are like, not accessible and all that. So talking to her and talking to me is exactly the same thing. And everybody at the office knows us. It's not like, okay, Aparna, we've asked Aparna, so it's done. No, they actually think it's exactly the same. So it's been wonderful working as sisters because there's a level of understanding that you have, and you've grown up together, so you know your likes, dislikes, and things like that. So it becomes very easy than working with somebody else. It is a natural thing, but that also means we end up bantering about a lot of things also. Like I say, okay, this way, that way, and we know that even if we argue, it is a very friendly thing. At the end, we'll sit together and we'll eat, right? It's not like if we've had an argument, it is an awkward silence after the argument. It's a very comfortable setting that we have because we're family.
And we do fight like crazy. Just to be clear, we do fight like crazy, but those fights are very, very productive at the end of it.
Okay, even my next question is ki, when there is a conflict, how do you guys resolve that?
So I can take that. So usually, whenever we fight, either it's so either one of us, like Aparna, will say, "You're my sweet sister," and then immediately that will calm me down, or it'll be something like where I have completely lost it, and there has to be a neutral third party, like my dad, like our dad, or somebody coming in and saying, "Hey guys, calm down," right? So it's one of those. But eventually, we'll figure out, or what the best part is, we both will be fighting, then there'll be a customer who asks something, and then we'll be getting back to talking because we'll have to resolve it for the customer first. So you know all those little things that happen along the way, we know that we're there for each other. That's all, period. That's all matters.
Amazing. Also, if you see the Indian startup ecosystem, most of the startup founders in India, at least, are male. Like there are very a small percentage of women who are in entrepreneurship. First of all, at what age did you guys plan to get into entrepreneurship, and what kind of challenges do you see as a women entrepreneur in the startup ecosystem?
Good question. So you're very right. First off, on the percentage, right? Less than the statistics say that less than 15% of startups are actually found by women. Okay, so that way, and this is not something that's just pertaining to India. It's a global thing, right? And age, yes. When you think of startup, you think of people who are right out of college. They have an idea, they start, right? So Ambika was in her 30s. I was in my 40s when we actually started off this. And yes, it was a challenge, right? But how we overcame the challenge was purely out of passion. When you believe that you can do it, nothing comes in the way, right? So that's what it was all about. The other challenge was, even funding. When you think of funding, see, startups is 15%, but how many startups, women-led startups, are actually funded? That's a very small percentage. That's less than 1%, and we are among that. And again, I would say it's purely out of this zeal. We have this passion, we have this perseverance to keep going. And when you feel like, the sky is the limit, nothing can stop you. And, you know, both of us, it's very close to our heart to have that sense of empathy for other women as well. So we are currently starting a Shobitam Center for Women Entrepreneurship, okay, where we want to encourage other women. We want to inspire other women, and we want to help facilitate. We want to see more women entrepreneurs to to reduce this gender inequality in the system.
Right, right. I guess you both are already an inspiration for women out there. Like Ambika being in 30s and you being in 40s, has started a business and killing it, right? So you are already an inspiration for people. It's just that people need to understand how things works, and they basically need to be more ambitious. And if you're ambitious, you can just, go ahead and conquer anything that you want. So yeah, I think that's what people need to understand these days. Great, great.
And just one thing, if I may add on, if one thing I may add on, like Aparna said on the women aspect, we consciously try to have more women in our workforce in every sphere, right? Even when it comes to number crunching or even quality, for example, which is typically a male dominated field, we try to get women in. We try to teach them the skills. We actually listen to them when they have to. It's not about just hiring. Aparna and me are actually connected to each of our employees, not just on work front, but on personal front. We know what's going in their lives. We know people who have had children during the course of, working for Shobitam. And they're there with us, except for the time that they were actually, they had the baby. They want to get back to work because this is a place for them where they can be themselves, where they can come out and, talk to people and all that. So it's been very liberating for them, and it's been a very warm feeling for us to see women exploring things outside of themselves. So it's not just about us doing it, it's about giving that freedom to other women, and that's where it makes the difference, right? So it's entrepreneurship in a different level. It's not about the leaders alone, it's about how you trickle down that culture a level downwards. So these women who work for us, their daughters, they see their moms going out working, and that's the mindset they will grow up with, right? That they can do something if they decide to do it. And that's the aspect that I want to bring up.
And these days, people talk about, they don't talk about work life balance, it's work life integration, right? How do we actually do both at the same time? And that's the culture, and that's the philosophy that, like Ambika said, has trickled down to our employees, and we can see that in action. So, that's very, very encouraging.
Amazing, amazing. Good to see that women in India are taking leads and making sure the culture is more in favor of them, and pushing them for moving forward, right?
Yes.
Amazing, amazing. You both have built a global brand as of now. Like, how do you see like building a local brand and global brand first? And secondly, how difficult it is to build a global brand?
So when we say global, right, we're not talking about India, we're not talking only about US, we're talking about building that presence, right? So it starts with a vision. Our vision has been to build a world-class brand, right? So that has been in our conception since day one. We've always thought in that line. When we started this in US, we didn't start this in India. We started this in US because that's the mindset we had, where we wanted to reach the world. It was on Etsy for a reason, because we wanted it to go across, right? But having a vision is only as good as we can get to the implementation, right? So there were challenges. There are definitely challenges that are there. The first challenge was in terms of cultural barriers. When you're a global company, right, and selling ethnic wear, you need to, go cut across those cultural barriers. We need to make sure other people adopt to this. And it was wonderful because our first order we got from France, and it was so unexpected. And that gave us a proof that yes, this is possible. It's not that it's about Indians in US buying your saris or your jewelry. It's about having that global presence and cutting across barriers, and one after the other. It's not just Indians who bought our products. We've seen such a different cultural segment of people buying what we sell, right? So that was a challenge also, and then we also saw that there is proof in this. The second was, when we built a global brand. We are in the US. I'm in California. Aparna is in Seattle. A part of the team sits in Texas. We have our operations in Bangalore. We have our weavers across India, right? So the geographical boundaries, cutting across that and getting things done. that becomes a huge challenge. Finding time together, putting like making sure collaborations happen effectively. That is something that, of course, technology has helped to a great extent. But those are things where we see that as a global brand, it is extremely important to put together these aspects from different geographies to make even one product come alive. The third thing I would say is, as a global brand, you need to make sure you focus on customers and quality, right? So it's not important about just producing something and giving it out in the market. It's also about the customer experience. It is about the quality of what you provide, because that's what stands up for what you do. So these three things are the core of what comes to my mind when you say a global brand and the challenges that come along.
Nice, nice, great. Also, I mean, you must be learning along the way when you are building a brand, right? So,
Mhm.
what is your idea of learning and how do you plan to give it back to the society?
Actually, between me and Aparna, both of us, we think entrepreneurship is a mindset, right? It's not, and we both do not come with a business background. Neither does anybody in our family. So this entire experience was born out of passion, like how Aparna brought up. And learning has been a significant aspect of what we do. So when I say we don't have a business background, we are learning at each stage, right? We get our hands dirty because we are very hands on people. We work on every aspect, right? No matter what it is. And we get our hands dirty, which means every day there's tons of learning that we have, whether it's business side, whether it's product side, whether it's talking to people, technology, all of that, right? So there is an uh, it's imperative that we put learning at the heart of what we do and constantly innovate. And like I said, because we learn, we make sure people alongside also learn with us. So whether they're employees, whether they are, whether it's me, whether it's Aparna, we're constantly in that process of learning and also giving our knowledge in terms of what we learn. We make sure that we come together, we discuss in meetings, we put things together, and that's what we do. And Shobitam has been that rocket ship where we've learned so much and we have figured things out in a lot of ways from what we do and from the people who are there along with us, right? It's not about them learning from us, but there's a lot of learning we have got from them, right? None of us were born with knowing about all of these weaves, right? The weavers who are actually they're not very educated, they have taught us different aspects of math that they do when they weave, right? Like there are certain weaves that involves mathematical calculations, and though they're not formally educated, they know so much more than us, right? So it's interesting that it's not about a one way learning, but it's a two-way learning. And they learn about technology, they learn about how we sell, right? It's a very interesting thing when it comes together.
Nice, nice. Great. Also, what I believe now, people like you or people who have already built businesses, they went through a lot. They did iteration, they made mistakes, and then they figured it out how to do things, right? The good thing about the future entrepreneurs or people who are getting into the business now, that they can learn from you guys or they can learn from people who have already built the businesses, right? And that's what we are supposed to do as a part of the ecosystem. Okay, whatever we learn, we should give it back. Great, great. So one more question that I have for you guys is let's say someone or a new person who has not been exposed to how a business works is getting into a business or is getting into a startup ecosystem. What is that one skill that he or she needs to understand or learn actually?
Okay, so as any company, right? What what are we doing? We're trying to deliver something to a customer. So the heart of what we do is the customer, and that's what we believe at Shobitan, and that's what I think any company should look at, right? Um, so it's always important to listen to the customer, to cater to the customer, and to make sure that what you give is of value to the customer, right? So for, if you say one thing, I would say customer, customer, and customer, right? Um, when we work at Shobitam, we make sure that every time we think about the customer aspect, we are customer obsessed, right? Whether it's the products that are there, it's not about we producing something, like I said earlier. It's about to see that how will it fit the customer's needs. For example, when we produce something, if it's fall here, we'll have to think about the kind of fabrics that will work for a customer in the fall season. We don't say, okay, right now cotton is available, let's do cotton, right? So it's always putting that thing first. When a customer reaches out to us, right, you need to think from his perspective, why is he reaching out? What is his background? So having a customer mindset, making sure that we are focusing on that aspect of where is it coming from? What are we trying to do for the customer? That would be one key learning or one key aspect that I would say if you focus on, you've got it right. If a customer is happy, it is right. Yes, go ahead, Aparna.
Right, and whenever we are in doubt, to add on to that, whenever we are in doubt, we'll just say, hey, what is the best thing that we can do for the customer? Should we do A or B? Would A make the customer happy or B make the customer happy? And instantly you have an answer.
Great, great. Basically, as a business, you should be customer centric or client centric.
Exactly.
It should be more about your customer, that if, because that's whom you are doing it for.
Right. If the product doesn't make sense to the customer, there's no business in the first place, right?
Exactly. And like we said, the Shobitan experience is not about sending or selling a product. It's about how the customer feels when they receive it, right? And making sure they're left satisfied. At the end of every letter that we write to a customer, we say your satisfaction is of utmost importance, right? And that line and that phrase, however simple it looks, captures the sentiment of what we do, right? And that is important.
Great,
So
great. So thank you so much, Aparna and Ambika, for joining me in this podcast and sharing your experience with us. I hope people would learn a lot of things from this video and will implement the same. So yeah, thank you once again.
thanks, Jamil. It was absolutely nice chit chatting with you. Thank you so